we're bringing this all together as in the interconnected theme. Really bringing together sustainability, the planet, the animals, and our health. We're both members of the Plant-Based Health Professionals UK, which are a group of doctors really focusing on the importance of nutrition for preventing disease and treating chronic disease. And as medics, we don't do enough of that. We haven't been taught enough of it in medical school. And we're quite reactive in that we wait until something goes wrong and then we prescribe an operation or tablets. And we should be doing it the other way around. We should be teaching everybody to stay healthy for longer and enjoy both a longer life, but a longer healthy life. So we'll just bring all that together. We'll do this as a very informal thing, so if you have any questions, just stop and we'll answer as we go along. So it makes it a lot more fun. So Anne first asked us to talk about our story, how we came to realise the importance of nutrition in health and what we do ourselves, and what we've observed over our careers in medicine, and the frightening epidemic of obesity. Obesity levels are going through the roof. If you look at black and white photos from the 60s and 70s, there weren't many obese people around. And if there were, they didn't live very long. And now, obesity is just going through the roof. Childhood obesity is frightening. The amount of type 2 diabetes children. It's going to cripple the NHS if we don't sort of go for the source of it. And it's our food environment rather than trying to blame people. What's available, what's cheap, what's subsidised, often in the wrong place, and people's lack of exercise. It's a combination of that that's leading to the obesity epidemic. And then the drug industry is sort of coming in and giving us these weight loss drugs to stop us eating the ultra-processed foods. So it's all just wrong, isn't it? So we're seeing particularly an increase in animal and dairy consumption, which is having a big impact on atherosclerosis, that's the heart attacks and strokes, high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes. We can talk about what's happening there if you like. And linking that with the sustainability of food production, in that growing food from animals is actually really inefficient, as Chris's question alluded to, and very, very wasteful. Has a big impact on climate change. So, bring these things together, health, animal welfare, as we are the guardians of creation, and the effects of food and climate change, all together. And the thing that links all of these really is the plant-based diet. It's much better for all three of those. Plant-rich diet. Yeah, it's not black or white. It's really not black or white at all. Do you know, the first time we came to St Mary's, many years ago, wasn't it? Probably about 20 years ago. There was a vegan fair, and they all looked a bit wacky, actually. They all had dyed hair and earrings, all very bohemian, and they actually didn't look very healthy. We thought, oh, they're all nuts. This is really silly. And at the time, we were still sort of eating our Sunday roasts and turkey at Christmas, all that kind of thing. And we sort of gradually realised that it's probably not the best thing to do. So these are some pictures from Artemis 2, looking at our wonderful planet. And as guardians and stewards, no better than St Francis with the wolf in Gubbio and all the animals. This is our Wildlife Gardening Award, because Maggie is a wonderful organic gardener, so no pesticides or anything.
That's what you say that it's kind of...
It's all possible. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, did anybody go, for those of you in Sheffield, there's a real meat shop where they promoted locally sourced, reared and free-range food. And so we used to make the effort to go and shop. It was actually really difficult because it was heart to heart, quite close to it. And there were some lovely butchers, and they were very jolly. They didn't look very anything. Unfortunately, they kind of closed the supermarkets to go that trend of animal welfare. But there's all greenwashing. So much of it is greenwashing. You know, when they talk about free-range birds and everything, they aren't really at all. So we stopped eating meat. We kept on eating chicken and fish until we got some chickens. Do you want to talk about chickens?
Well, we had 3 absolutely gorgeous chickens, all with their own very, very definite personality. They were actually, one of them was actually very bossy. He used to tell us off if we got like 5 minutes late in the morning and everything. So they really were really lovely characters.
They're not brighter than I thought, because I thought birds were burglar.
The neighbours all quite fond of them, but they had a fox-proof thing for sleeping in, and I was too stupid to realise that foxes would be watching out and they hunted through the day. So I took the dogs out for a walk, and then they were all disappeared one morning. So, but they were wonderful. Once we had them, we couldn't agree.
Chicken. So we kept on eating fish, and then we went on holiday to Scotland, and had a cottage next to one of these things. And we saw so many drums of chemicals piled up outside it. And they call it wild fish, wild Scottish farming. There isn't any wild Scottish farming, it's all this factory farming in the lochs. Pumping loads of chemicals in because of the rice. They're very, very squashed together. So we stopped eating.
And because they're so squashed together, it's the sea lice are proliferating and attacking real wild salmon populations. So wild salmon populations are decimated in Scotland.
So, what we see at Netflix, if I knew I was going to live this long, I'd look after myself. Or, would you like to be like this guy? Looked after myself well, good lifestyle advice. You know, I ate more plant food, not so much red meat because it's a carcinogen. But we're not saying don't eat anything, just less of one and more of the other. The plants. A bit more exercise, didn't smoke, only drank in moderation, and there you are, bingo. So, if you're going to live to 100, you don't want to spend the last 20 years in the nursing home. You want to live to 100 and die young at an old age. Yeah, that's what we're aiming for. Because when I was admitting when I was a young doctor, when I was admitting elderly people, I thought it was almost inevitable that everybody ended up in a nursing home, which is dreadful. But it's not true. It's not true. And then you can avoid it. Likewise, you should try not to be in the operating theatre unless you absolutely have to be. A lot of cancers, particularly, are linked to our diets. Or the CT. So, this is looking at the rise in obesity, which is just massive. If you look now back to 1990, it's just really, really going up. I'm a retired consultant anaesthetist, and I've seen the size of patients on the operating table just go up and up and up. Not uncommon to have 100 kilo patients in theatre. It's quite unusual actually to have people as fit and slim as you guys here. Really, really difficult. But all the health risks that people have with that. And of course, deaths by obesity. Just goes up and up as you get larger. So there's a lovely book that's just come forward, Moving Medicine Forward, by an American physician who has spent a lot of the last bit of his career really emphasising that we need to teach doctors more about the value of what we eat and nutrition from medical school. Because Maggie and I were both medical students at King's, and we weren't really taught about the value of preventative medicine or treating chronic disease with diet at all. It was all just diet deficiencies or vitamins and that kind of thing. Not all. There are some medical schools that are beginning to do it now. The medical students are really hungry for it, they're asking for it. And it links in, dovetails in with food is climate. In that a lot of the ailments in Australia are the increase in people eating particularly red meat. And a lot of the climate change is because we're clearing land to feed the beef. I've got some slides on that.
And there is a wonderful experience at the same with a study with the American Geophysical Association, and they estimated that if the whole entire global population stopped eating red meat, there'd be enough drawdown from the growth of plants and forests to take away climate change completely. And you'd be able to travel and carry on continuing to travel, but it would just be enough drawdown to take us back to where we were.
Moving on to the study that Peter was talking about, the Lancet, with reference to being more plant-based nuts, legumes, whole grains, olive oil. It's beneficially associated with cardiac, cardiometabolic health, and all cause of mortality. And shifting to a less animal base, particularly with red and processed meat, dairy, poultry, butter. It's just better for us in terms of our health. So regular meat consumption is now linked with a wide range of common diseases. You're probably aware that the World Health Organization's label of red and processed meat is a known carcinogen, particularly processed meat. You're probably not aware that it causes type 2 diabetes because of the saturated fat, and the way the saturated fat gets stored in your liver, it makes you insulin resistant, which causes type 2 diabetes, and then leads to all the cardiometabolic problems with atherosclerosis, laying down plaques through your arteries, and leading on then later to strokes and heart attacks. So it's really important. And we're eating more beef now than we ever have. We're repurposing more land to the production of beef. We're taking grain from the third world to feed the beef that we eat. I mean, it's just nuts. This is one of the big frightening things, I think, is that colorectal cancer rates are skyrocketing in young adults, in the young population. Really, really concerning. What do you think that the number one cancer in cause of death, cancer cause of death in men under 50 is? Colon cancer. Absolutely, absolutely. And the number two in ladies. But these are in young people. You don't, but they're talking about bringing into the screening age down. As an anaesthetist, I was working with colorectal surgeons all the way through my career. I think we started off with maybe 3 colorectal surgeons here, now we've got 6 or 7.
And you saw the increase in
Absolutely. And with the young age group as well. And so much of that is nutritionally driven. It's a combination of the red and processed meat and the rise in obesity. And the lack of fibre. Because fibre is protected. The more fibre you have, I think, so 10% less. So this is a review in the BMJ recently looking at how much every year the increase in colon cancer is within the younger age group. And the UK is about the worst. I think it's linked with the amount of fast food we eat. I think 25% of the calories that people eat in the UK now are from fast food outlets. So,
isn't that because of meat eating?
a lot of it is because of meat eating and also obesity. And the way the meat is cooked, if the meat is barbecued, that makes it a bit more carcinogenic. It also leads to ages, advanced glycation and end products that worsen the risk of atherosclerosis. It's the way we cook the meat.
There are these things called advanced glycation end products, so AGE in short, and that they come from if you cook meat at high temperature with a large amount of advanced glycation end products, and they drive cancer and aging actually, and atherosclerosis.
And also the cholesterol. Well, there's no cholesterol in plant-based food.
In plants,
There's no cholesterol in plants at all.
It's only in animal products.
And saturated fat. And if you cook the meat at a high temperature, you oxidize the cholesterol, and it's the oxidized cholesterol that's particularly damaging for your endothelial walls in your arteries.
So if mum cooks the Sunday lunch in the oven, that's okay?
What, roasting it?
Oh, yeah, it's in the oven.
No, that's roasting will produce lots of these advanced glycation end products as well.
Cooked in the oven.
Yeah.
This is worse.
That's quite a high temperature.
Do it on the fire.
Oh, that's the worst. Barbecue is the worst, yeah.
But it's sort of men that tend to do the barbecue.
Yes, it's a man's job, yeah. Exactly, yeah.
So if you've got to eat it, what's the best way to do it? So
I think,
you can't cook it up properly.
no, so, well, we do have a dog, so it has venison. She has venison. So when we found out about these age things, we decided just kind of, because Sunny heats it in a little bit of boiling water, so it doesn't get above 100 degrees, so it's steamed as well. So yeah, so that's what we're doing. Yeah. So the high temperatures are what we're doing. Yeah.
But also maybe saving it for Sunday lunch. Not eating meat on 2 or 3 days a week. See how you go.
Yeah. I think any reduction is positive, isn't it?
So what's happened with poultry production? If you go back to 1961, you can see it's again the poultry production millions of times more than it was back in the 60s. It's just a cultural thing, isn't it? The blue line is, these are different countries. So the blue line is Brazil, the States and China. And these birds are often kept in very closely blind situations, which leads to the proliferation of avian bird viruses, probably the origin of COVID and bird flu.
All these pandemics are from this concentrated agricultural feed.
It just has to these grants be more helpful if they include some kind of reference to the increase in population.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
Yeah, that's very true, very true, very true.
Can't answer that one.
Because it's like population.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was just thinking that actually. Yeah.
So, data source from the United Nations. Yes, it would need to be linked to that.
Yeah.
I don't know how much the world population has gone up since the 60s.
I don't know.
No, it would be.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, the thing that really got me was the greenhouse gas emissions from the supply chain. If you look at the biggest one is beef, and it's the methane that's produced by cattle is a very potent greenhouse gas. It's 120 times more potent than CO2, and is accelerating our sort of transition towards a tipping point where more methane is released from the tundra and the Arctic Circle. But if you also look at the greenhouse gas emissions from plants, all of the plants that are right down here. So this is tying it all together. What's better for the planet, what's better for our health, what's better for the animal welfare is for us to eat more plants.
What about, I have the argument that, well, what we're going to do is put all these cows in the world, we've got all these sheep, so we're going to kill them all off and that's it, it's just going to be beings.
No, you don't think like that is a problem, who knows? I mean, they're going to be killed anyway, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, how long does the average dairy cow, is the dairy cow useful for before she's killed?
About 6 or 8 years. They should live till they're 20, but once they stop producing their milk and they've been made pregnant 5 or 6 times and they're exhausted, then they get killed. So they actually live for a lot less time than they would. So yes, what would we do with that? But I think it's a theoretical argument though, so I don't think it's going to happen overnight, is it?
Oh,
So, no.
Well, it's almost that there's wild ponies in Dartmoor, things that we're allowed, I mean, humans don't have to enclose, we enslave humans,
Yes.
but we don't have to enslave animals.
No,
we
exactly,
don't.
no.
And it's perhaps our duty not to.
Yeah, absolutely. And they have got a great use of, I don't understand all the ins and outs of it, but they have got grazing animals are more nature intended, aren't they? So we should have grazing animals around. But what really upsets me is these awful concentrated animal feed operations, which are absolutely dreadful. The suffering involved is unbearable. There was a vet that was on one of our Zoom calls at Barclays Health Professional, and she was a pig vet, and she said it was just, she couldn't breathe in the air that they had to breathe. It was just absolutely dreadful. And most of the pigs had pneumonia before they went to the slaughterhouse, and I think it just really upsets me, so I don't know my pigs. So yeah, it's just, and that is the breeding ground for the next pandemic, these cases, and also for antibiotic resistance as well. So people fed routinely antibiotics so they don't die before they are finished. So use of antibiotics in animal agriculture is absolutely profligate. So you can talk about that later on.
Simon, do you want to talk about how inefficient raising beef is in terms of
Yeah, so
feed?
it's finished mostly because we're clearing forests to make grazing land for the beef that we want.
Yeah.
So the answer is being cleared from.
Which is the question that's raised.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So antibiotic usage, it's often used not because the animals are ill, it's given to them in a preventative way because they're so closely confined. Different countries have different policies. We're getting much better in this country. But if you look at the rest of the world, in China, they're using tons of antibiotics. And antibiotic resistance is almost inevitable, and it's going to stop the antibiotics that we rely on when we become ill or septic or have an operation. They're not going to be, or they're not going to be working because we've been too profitable with their use in raising livestock.
So cancer of the joint basis for a moment.
We'll be able to do it. In hospital, we're often giving 2 antibiotics in combination now to stop any antibiotic resistance development. Or if we have a joint replacement, particularly the provision of joint replacement, as one of our ladies in our lunch club was that, you have to give them 2 or sometimes 3 antibiotics intravenously in combination to cover all the resistant organisms.
You mean one person might be resistant to one, but you give them two others?
It's the bacteria that might affect the joint replacement. Yeah. Not the person is resistant, but the bacteria that are colonising everything are resistant.
So you have 3 doses
You give 3 antibiotics to cover all the ones that could be resistant. Yeah. Probably more policy. They don't have so many. Maybe they're more reliant on them.
I don't know. Yeah, I just wondering what their animals are like. Or their
No, I don't know.
And New Zealand, see,
Oh, yes,
And New Zealand as well. It's probably all the open space.
Yeah, they're raising us the open, aren't they? Exactly, that's exactly it.
It's when you bring them close together in a big factory farm.
and follows two caravans.
Is it the red tractor?
The caravans. Well, she rode the tractor one, but this is part of that was the road, and it was about two people that were below humanity, so they couldn't get decent jobs, and they worked to do different things, and one of the jobs they had to do was in a chicken house. And their job was to pick the ones to be killed and then kill them.
My auntie had a small farm down the corner, and she used to raise turkeys. And so we would get a turkey every Christmas. And one year my sister went down to help raise all the turkeys as a teenager. And then she came back, and when the turkey was presented at Christmas dinner, she came and said, well, I hear that was Esmeralda. And I fed her, I looked after her. I'm not going to eat her. And my mum just went through the roof. She said, don't be so silly. But she was right. She was decent, no, she was right.
I'm surprised that's the US, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
Indeed. I'm surprised too.
Maybe the statistics are wrong.
They do use that.
That's where my numbers come from, isn't it?
They've got the grazing land, haven't they? They're moving medicine
They
forward.
do have a lot of
Saying that
things
half of the US land is used for animal agriculture.
in terms of growing.
So maybe that's why, maybe it's because they're out of the acre.
So the people, your professionals, they're not just doctors, they're not just medics, they have a profession. In your organisation?
Yes, all sorts, yeah, all health professionals, all across the board, yeah.
Nutritionists,
Doctors,
dietitians,
yeah.
doctors,
Yeah.
nurses.
Physios, we've even got a mathematician that's got in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Excellent. So, I'm pleased to say the NHS has now launched Eating Well. Eating Well. Eating Well. So here we have the Eating Well plate, and you see it's all of your greens, and all of your plant-based starches and fibre. And there's a little bit for dairy and meat. And the proteins bit, of course, includes lentils and nuts and chickpeas, and they've got a very small amount of fish and lean mince and a bit of chicken. Tins are beans. And you don't want to eat tuna because of all the mercury, don't eat sugar. You can get low salt, low sugar and big beans.
So why don't they make actual beans so that without the bake, without the, I don't know, they do.
It's just because consumer taste again, so we expect Heinz beans, isn't it? And they're all
The best way to live longer is to find a way of eating more beans and pulses and lentils and stuff in a way that it fits in with your diet and is more palatable. And that across the world is what the people who live longest are doing, eating more of the beans, more fibre. Yeah, definitely. Yes. So, can eating more fibre make you look younger? Absolutely. So I think we have to eat some more fibre. It does, because you've got a lot of microbes in, good microbes microbes in your gut, the microbiome, they metabolize a plant-based fibre to
Make
short-chain fatty acids are anti-inflammatory and actually do make your skin look better, make you glow, and reduce autoimmunity, reduce the incidence of cancer.
That's new, actually.
It is. So other health benefits of fibre, so you need about 30 grams of fibre a day preferably. It has good effects on your heart health. So particularly oats like porridge, beans, lowering your bad cholesterol. Makes your blood sugar much more stable. I can attest to that because I'm a diabetic. Type 1 mental well-being. And definitely a reduced cancer risk. There's strong evidence that a high fibre diet can reduce your cancer risk. So, for every 10 grams of fibre you add to your diet, your risk of colorectal cancer goes down by about 10%.
And that's all feeding your gut, right? People know that. A lot of people do it. But it's new. It's new, yeah.
just begun to know about.
Just begun to know about it, absolutely right. But most of my patients will go, no, never heard of that.
Well, it's happened to, I've heard about it first as microbiome in your gut, but then people are using the word bio in any environment, whatever, like the biome of Sheffield or the biome of that glass house or something.
Oh, yeah, I suppose so. So it means
I suppose it's all a little box in that.
in that particular area, and you've got your skin microbiome as well, and all sorts of things. So, yeah, that's true.
Really important, but much more than we knew about.
Yeah, it's kind of the central pillar of health, really, isn't it? Healthy and diverse microbiome. So having lots of different plants. The advice at the moment is to have 30 different plant types to increase the diversity of our microbiome.
Okay, so upgrade your car. So you want to have the whole grain versions of cars rather than the kind of really ultra-processed white rice.
White flour, yeah.
Yeah, so
seeds?
whole grain basmati rice, that's the brown basmati rice.
Because historically, rich people have had like white rice or white bread because it's been heavily milled and processed and they're rich enough to buy it. And that's kind of trickled down in time, so that's the most desirable thing, the heavily processed food.
But you've taken away all the fibre, which is what you wanted.
The other day, they were talking about cholesterol, and if your cholesterol's over this thing, they say, you can have statin over, and they get right for free for the rest of your life, so why not? It's just there are statins into this, and they said to the government something, we can sell lots of statins.
Well,
Yes.
the NICE guidelines say we should provide lifestyle advice first, and then recheck your cholesterol to see if it's worked and reduced. The lifestyle advice being what we're saying here, eating more fibre and doing more exercise, and then see. And if that hasn't worked, and there will be some people who have a familiarly high cholesterol who do need statins. There are people who have had a heart attack or something who do need statins. If you're well and your cholesterol is high, for heaven's sake, change your diet and see if it works before you take statins for life.
And don't forget, animal cholesterol is only an animal product. That's it. No others.
Yes.
And the more plants of fibre you have, the more it actually extracts it from your bloodstream. And Ian should be on, you should be on
Statins, yeah.
Should be on statins.
But my LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, on my own blood test is lower than the target you'd set for someone who's had lots of heart attacks. But even just through the diet and exercise.
So the guidelines are for all type 1s over 40, they should be on statins.
So we're not here to diss statins at all. If you need them, you need them. But for heaven's sake, try lifestyle changes with them. They're not an excuse to eat bad.
Yeah. But we're not talking on told that, I don't think, really. It's just, yeah, and there isn't time, certainly people.
Often there just isn't time.
My friends said, oh no, there was no discussion about like, blood pressure medication or statins, just have this now. And I said, there's no issue. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So same things happening with antidepressants. You know, they're dishing out far too many antidepressants now. People are finding it difficult to get off them, so how many of our population are on antidepressants now? Something like 1 in 10, isn't it? And it's because the doctors haven't got time to say, well, life has its ups and downs, and have this happen. Oh, and by the way, you can't stop the suddenly, so you'll have to take it. Well, it's stuck in it, which is great for the drug companies.
And what about vitamins?
If you eat a healthy diet, you should have more than that.
We were just saying about vitamin D though.
Oh, vitamin D.
I think most people who live in the UK should be on vitamin D in the winter months.
Well, always.
Yeah. And because animals are the main source of B12, when they're in these awful confined spaces, they're actually given B12 in their food, so they don't get it naturally, it's fed to them and then it goes to you. So we do tend to take B12, don't we? Mum has got it as well.
So if you have Marmite, you need B12?
Probably not, no, but I think maybe just go on the safe side, have a few B12 tablets here and there, that's what we tend to do, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, will also work that on.
Yeah, but it's a cow product, so it's I think it probably does, I'm not sure, but it's from cows. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about your lady with the psoriatic arthritis?
Oh yeah, this is a lovely story. This is a lady who, Kate Dunbar, she was crippled. Oh, there's a lady called Kate Dunbar. She's 62 now. She was absolutely crippled with something called psoriatic arthritis. It's a sort of arthritis that you can get from psoriasis. And her mother ended up in a wheelchair and had a terrible life. But she became an ethical vegan about 20 years ago, and then just happened to go to the Vegan Society's thing in London about 5 years ago. And there was a vegan runners stall, so she's wearing her vegan runners t-shirt. And she went up to the lady that was running, she said, I'd love to run. And the lady said, oh, why can't you? She said, I've got a terrible crippling arthritic disease, and she was on loads of drugs, multiple drugs, and it still wasn't working. And the lady in the stall said, oh, well, I used to have rheumatoid arthritis, which is irreversible as far as medical knowledge goes. I used to have rheumatoid arthritis, but I became vegan, I'm on a whole food plant-based diet, I don't take any tablets anymore, and I run marathons. And she couldn't believe it, Kate. Anyway, so she then did the same thing herself, and she's now off all her psoriatic arthropathy medication, and she runs marathons as well. So the lady is absolutely full of joy. I listened to her on a podcast, and she came onto one of our Zoom meetings as well. She's just absolutely full of life and joy, and does ultra marathons as well. So that's Kate's story, which is
absolutely
pretty
amazing.
amazing.
You had arthritis in your knees, didn't you?
Yeah, that's good.
Well, that's good. You're running.
Yeah, I'm running too. I've got one of those t-shirts.
So you ran marathons?
Not yet, no. I'm just training up for it.
Yeah, I was saying that I
So this is just a bit about atherosclerosis and sort of furring up of your arteries. Unfortunately, normal blood flow, if you have a plaque, and this is particularly a high saturated fat diet, which is animal. So the 5 habits that can add more to a decade of your life. What do you think we should do now?
exercise more.
Exercise. How much do I need to do?
3 times a week at least.
Okay, I can't just go to the gym on Saturdays and do a lot.
No.
So it should be half an hour.
You can't just go to the gym on a Saturday and do a lot. Yeah.
Half an hour a day, 1 or 2 days. Anything that puts your heart rate up. Okay. Any other things we should do?
What occurs to me is not eating highly processed food.
Yes.
Highly processed food is quite as damaging as anything vegans do.
Absolutely.
There
Yeah.
was another study that just came out and agree with me that said ultra-processed food that has no meat products in it is slightly quite protected against diabetes and high blood pressure, which is amazing because I thought they were just dreadful evil things.
I think the problem is a great deal of what we eat is full of preservatives
the ultra-processed breakfast cereal versus porridge and fruit. It's a complete no-brainer. And the food industry, as Peter said, is all the same with invested interests. Yeah. And we're banning junk food ads around schools. So this is just in a minute. There's a heart attack grill. Has anybody been to Las Vegas? There is a heart attack grill, and it's still open. And when you go in, they will put a hospital gown on you. They say if you have a heart attack when you're there, you don't need to pay the bill. If you're over 150 kilos, you don't have to pay the bill. Okay? You can have a single bypass burger, double bypass burger, quadruple bypass burger. You can have flat liner fries, deep fried in pure lard. That's when the heart stops, asystole. But it is there. And this guy was just tempting fate. So keep calm and charged, that's when you have the defibrillator.
That's the maximum.
That's the maximum you have the defibrillator. This is something I was doing with our medical students in Sheffield last year, training them how to do CPR, training the public how to do CPR. There are 30,000 cardiac arrests outside hospital, and a lot of this is down to us eating badly and not doing enough exercise. I think we've got the message across about smoking, and this is one of the last slides I have. So I used to think that this is Gus Speff, a prominent environmentalist. Environmental problems with biodiversity, etc. But I was wrong. The top environmental problem is selfishness, greed, and apathy. And to deal with those issues, we need a spiritual and cultural transformation, and we scientists don't know how to do.
And that was so difficult, the cultural